All right, it looked like we're gonna get this party started. Hi, Leah. Hi, Shari. Look, now I feel like I'm seeing all my friends. Ah, ah. Ebony, Jamila. I see Sylvia. I feel like it's a party. So I already apologized for my light. Of course, my what is that called? Like your ring light camera broke. It's right before this call. That's perfect. So it's okay. We're just gonna work it out. But yeah. So if you can come to your camera and show yourself, I would love to see everyone. I understand it's in the evening, so it's okay if we have on sweatshirts or whatever the case is. I always feel like it's just, I love like always building community. So we're gonna build a little bit of community night, community engagement fellowship. Here we go. So I'm going to tell you a little bit. I guess let me introduce myself. My name is Elena Bloodworth. I am the executive director of the Black Public Defender Association. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about, hey, Kawan, like I feel like I've seen all my friends. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about BPDA, who we are, what we do, a little bit more about the Community Engagement Fellowship. And then I'm going to actually be switching over to our program director, Ebony, who will talk to you a little bit more about timelines and all the good things. And then you get to hear directly from the host sites, our wonderful host sites that we are grateful to be in partnership with. And then I think we're going to also have an opportunity to hear from some of our past amazing dynamic fellows. Hey, guys, I feel like it's a party. So yeah, so let me tell you a little bit about BPDA. I one welcome, I guess, first too, to the Community Engagement Fellowship session. A little bit about BPDA. It's the only thing I promise that I'm going to read to you is first, let's just start off with our mission. The Black Public Defender Association aims to improve the quality of defense provided to low-income communities across the United States by creating and maintaining a national network of skilled Black public defenders that identify with and are committed to the populations they serve. Again, my name is Elena Bloodworth. I am the executive director of what I affectionately call as BPDA, the Black Public Defender Association. A little bit about us. I always say I love to talk about our pillars, which are we have four of them, which is lead, train, advocate, and inspire. And I think that tells you a lot about who we are and what we do. We do a lot of leadership training. As you could imagine, there are not many Black defenders across this country, and there are definitely not as many Black defenders in leadership positions. So we do a lot of leadership training with many of our Black defenders across the country. I always want to also stop and hit a pause that when we say defenders, we're not just talking about attorneys, we're talking about social workers, we're talking about client advocates. We we believe here at BPDA, which I'll go into a little bit more later, that there should be a team of professionals representing a client, right? Usually one issue leads to another. And we want to ensure that we're not just defending them against their charges, but we're ensuring that they are not coming back to the system, right? At all. So that's really important for us. I could tell you that we also do a whole bunch of training, not just we do it a lot of it based specifically on race, including how to litigate race in a courtroom, how to facilitate conversations around race. And that list kind of goes on. And you could go to our website to see all the trainings that we do. We also have an advocate pillar. If you look at also our website, we have a number of position papers, including how to disrupt many carceral systems and what we believe in and what should be done, all the way from papers that we sent to the Biden Harris administration. And then we're here for our most relevant pillar here is our Inspire pillar. I can tell you this fellowship program is the definition of inspiration for many of us, right, across the country who work in these offices because we believe in not only ensuring that the doors open behind us, but we're also raising up a new generation of defenders that's also pushing back and fighting against mass incarceration. We have two fellowship programs. We have our law school fellowship program, and that's specifically for law school students. And then we have our community engagement fellowship program. I would like to say, don't tell the law school fellowship, but this is my favorite fellowship because I just truly think it gets at the heart of what we want to do, right? We don't want to just be fighting for you in the courtroom, but fighting outside of the courtroom. We want to be pushing against an entire system. And we know that there are just systems, right, across this country that are not really built for people who look like me and people of color. And we know people of color are disproportionately impacted by mass incarceration. I could tell you that our community engagement fellowship was born. We've always had our law school fellowship, but a few years ago, even our attorneys who are public defenders said we need to start earlier. I could tell you, which is why we want to specifically get to undergrad, but our social workers, our client advocates, our investigators, or many other professionals that represent clients who are so needed, right, to be part of that team also said, hey, we want a fellowship as well that represents us. So the Community Engagement Fellowship was born. The reason why we say it's community, because if you look at each one of the descriptions of each one of these programs in these amazing jurisdictions across the country, they all are truly rooted in community, right? And we wanted to be really intentional about that. I think a lot of time I've had a lot of experience with different fellowship programs, but because undergrad, I feel like a lot of times it turns into like, run this motion here, run this motion there. And we do not want that to be this experience. We want it to be that you actually get experience with being able to interact with community. So we were truly intentional about the way that this was built and also ensuring that it stays small, at least for the time being, so we can ensure that you all actually get really a lot of quality and as much interaction as possible. So I know I've talked a little bit too long, but thank you so much for just being here and taking interest in BPDA and this fellowship program. At this point, I am going to turn it over to our program director, Ebony.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to meet you. We are now going to shift to our host site segment. We're going to learn a little bit more about them. We're going to give them a chance to tell you guys a little bit more about their work. So let's get started with the Brooklyn Defender Services.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Ebony. Thank you, Alana. I'm so excited to be here. We love working with BPDA. My name is Sherry Stein. I am a supervising attorney with Brooklyn Defender Services, and I also run our internship and externship programs. I always get a little tongue-tied when I speak in groups, which is kind of funny, like being a trial lawyer. So forgive me. I'll tell you a little bit about Brooklyn Defender Services. Our offices are located primarily in downtown Brooklyn. Our main offices are 180 Livingston Street and 177 Livingston Street. And we also have some other offices around the courthouse areas in downtown Brooklyn. As public defenders, our role is to serve the community within which we work, and we do so using an interdisciplinary model of representation. And we're really excited for our fellow to work on projects with folks across all of our practice areas. And so some of our main practice areas within which we are hoping our fellow will work are criminal defense, family defense, immigration, policy, re-entry services, and client services. And so what that looks like, in practice, what that looks like in the summer is, our hope is that we'll have small projects within each of those practice areas so that you can have the opportunity to work with all of our staff, within those practice areas to learn a little bit more about what they do and how we all interact together to help our clients in the best way possible. We had Sam Lawrence. I don't know. I saw Sam's name on the thing. Oh, there's Sam. We had Sam with us last summer. We loved having Sam with us, and I see she's here to talk about her experience, so I'm assuming it was positive. But Sam worked primarily with our policy team, and we are hoping to have some policy opportunities available as well. But we really did think that it was important to see all of the different practice areas within which we work to sort of understand that interdisciplinary model. We do have a small undergraduate internship program, which we're hoping to loop our fellow in with insofar as having community among other undergraduate students. And we also provide opportunities for our undergraduate students to work hand in hand with some of our law school interns as well, in addition to obviously staff and lawyers, etc., so that you can sort of, get a picture of what it might look like to, potentially, do something in the public interest world, once you graduate. So, did I miss anything? I'm always missing something. Oh, it's good. Okay. I'll pass it on to the next person.
Okay, so let's go with Contra Costa next. Are you here, Contra?
I guess usually Jermel. I don't see her yet. So maybe
Area. Okay.
no.
I can go for New York if you want for the Legal Aid
Okay, yes.
Society.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
I'm helping you out. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kawan Clinton. I am the attorney in charge of the Legal Aid Society's criminal defense trial practice in Manhattan. It's nice to be with you this evening. So I wrote a little bit of notes because I want to make sure I just cover the things that were requested that we speak about. So what's unique about the Legal Aid Society is as a public defense organization, we're located in all 5 of the boroughs of New York City. So you will have a chance to, experience the different boroughs. And I always like to describe it as being in a different state. The practice in, say, Manhattan is very different than Brooklyn. The practice in Brooklyn is very different than the Bronx. And we also operate in Staten Island, which is Richmond County, which has a really small town feel. They don't even have arraignments on the weekends and nights in Richmond County. And in Manhattan, we have arraignments day, night, weekends, and all holidays. So it's a very distinct practice. So you'll have a chance to actually visit the different offices in each borough and see what those practices can expose you to. Similar to BDS, we have different divisions in the Legal Aid Society. So we have immigration, we have civil, which encompasses housing, family law. We have JRP, which is our juveniles rights division. And of course, criminal, which is primarily where this fellow will spend their time. We also have something called a community justice unit. And what I like to do is match the fellow within that unit so they have a chance to have like robust experience because within that unit, you get to go to different trainings. You get to work with like advocates and members of city council, MOCJ, the mayor's office of criminal justice. So I think partnering the fellow in that unit, they have a very robust experience engaging within the community. And lastly, what we ask the fellow to do is a Know Your Rights training. That's like the culmination project that we will help them develop. And what I like about that is I don't force the project on the person, meaning we don't tell the fellow this is what you need to do. We engage in a discussion. We think about like some of the things that are going on currently in the community and allow the fellow to decide, what project is most relevant and timely in the community. So I can say last year my fellow worked on the Pooh Shiesty mass ban in New York City and gave a presentation on that. We can talk about like the cell phone ban. There's various different things. And of course, immigration. So I like to help the fellow think outside of the box about what's timely for the community and develop their own program. So that's an overview of what you can expect if you come to the Legal Aid Society. So looking forward to meeting you guys, talking to you guys, and thanks for having us. This is a dope program. I really, really do love it.
Thank you so much. I see you, Leah. Are you all set now?
Hi everyone. Glad to be here. I'm so glad to see the turnout too. I'm really thrilled that everybody's here to learn about this experience. I think this is one of the coolest opportunities that is out there. And so my name is Leah Winsberg. I'm the community engagement attorney for the Cuyahoga County Public Defender's Office. So our big city is Cleveland, Ohio. And my role is somewhat new still. I rejoined the office in this role in September 2024. I was an attorney with our office some years ago. And, our office really tries to work towards, kind of that holistic lens, but we have a multidisciplinary team approach. So we have 4 divisions, and within all 4 divisions, we have attorneys, paralegals, social workers, parent advocates, and then investigators. And students are a huge part of our team as well. We have students year round, and so this fellowship is a bit different, and I'm really happy that Azariah, the fellow that was with us last summer, is here tonight, and she's going to share. It was a pleasure working with her last summer, and I think one of the things that's really fun about this opportunity is, at least with us, the role with the community engagement fellow is really kind of fluid. Since my role is new, and we're able to kind of adapt to the landscape and figure out what's going on in the moment. We have the ability to really shape that summer project or opportunity or engagement to meet the interests and the needs of the student as well as the needs of the community at that given time. So, within our 4 divisions, we have our felony division where we represent adults. We have a misdemeanor division, our municipal division for City of Cleveland. We have a youth and parent defense division where we represent kids as well as parents, and then a appellate and post-conviction division. And so, Azariah can share a little bit more, but I think really being able to learn about what our office does, starting out with the other summer students who are with us. We have an orientation that in some ways is tailored for community engagement, but much more for law students. But just getting a feel for what our different divisions do, and then finding some areas where there's some interest. I think some of the things that, kind of I've shaped my role around, which I'm looking forward to having a partner in crime for the summer, is, around building connection with different partners in the community and finding those gap areas where we can really bridge access to the populations outside of the courthouse space, those traditional spaces, and thinking about how to get more involved in neighborhoods, prison and detention facilities, and really providing some access to populations in spaces that otherwise don't have access to legal representation or advice or any of the services, especially post-conviction, that are really, really needed. One of the things that Azariah helped with last year was launching some shadowing days. And I know Elena mentioned this, this is not just about the pipeline for attorneys. We really, really, really value, and we require, in order to operate as well as we do, the entire team. So thinking about how to build those pipelines of people who are interested as a paralegal or a social worker, an investigator. So helping to explain what it is that we do to the community and answering questions to students who might be interested in a career in public service, but don't think about public defense in that way, and they should. So, enhancing some of the social media and communication, keeping our pulse on what's happening with the communities that we're serving. What do they need from us? One of the things Azariah also helped with was gather information on calls that we get each day from our intake and attorney on-call line, and figuring out, what is the community calling us for? What do they need? Where can we fill in those gaps? How can we be more helpful? And presenting that information to our administrative team so that we can make the changes on our end. And also give a shout out to our staff who are often unseen, who do a lot of the behind the scenes work that's not as sexy as the courtroom piece, but really keeps our office functioning and provides a huge service for our community. So those are just a few things that Azariah worked on, and getting involved in some of the spaces like detention facilities, prison facilities. So having that comfortability of meeting our clients where they are, but also being able to feel comfortable getting in touch with the community while we're out there. I think we're looking for someone who's got a little bit of an independent, lens where they can kind of drive what they're interested in and be comfortable having those connections, and also be a good partner to figure out where they want to learn from us this summer. So that's my spiel.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. It looks like we have a guy, but I think he stepped away. 1 second. Okay, yeah, it looks like I stepped away for a second. So we can go ahead and get started with learning a little bit more from the former fellows about their experiences with the community engagement program. So we can get started with Azariah, if you're ready.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Leah, for all your kind words. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Okay, awesome. I'm Azariah Crosby. I am a senior at Central State University, graduating senior, majoring in political science at Central State University over in Wilberforce, Ohio. And I was at Cuyahoga County this past summer. I cannot speak highly of BPDA and my placement this summer. I was really happy. It actually was my first fellowship internship, and I'm just really happy for the exposure. What initially drew me to apply, I always knew I wanted experience and exposure to the legal field. I just was like, after graduation, I know I'm going to law school and I want to be a lawyer, and okay, that's it. But I wasn't really informed on public defense. But after like doing research on BPDA and public defense in Cuyahoga County specifically, I was really moved, honestly, by BPDA's mission and core values because it just really aligned with me. And I just figured, like, why not go for it? So that's what led me to apply. While being there, like Leah spoke on, we had like an orientation 2-week period where you just get acclimated to the office, the support staff, the attorneys, and the law school fellows. What surprised me about my experience, I would say number one would be how like welcoming and down to earth and inviting everyone was. I feel like going into it, or at least in my head, there was a stereotype like lawyers could be or attorneys could be kind of like snooty or conceited, like top of the barrel, but that was not it at all. Everyone was so welcoming, so invested in what I had to say, my experience, where I was coming from, and everything like that. Some highlights from my summer would be I was able to sit in on like brainstorming sessions with attorneys for like different perspectives for their preparing for trial work. I was able to go to the jail a couple of times, the youth detention center. The courthouse was literally right across the street. So often if I was like looking for something to fill my gap time, if I was in between projects, I'd pop in over there. The judges were welcoming. They would, if they had anything interesting, they'd let me know, like, hey, I have this. One judge even let us sit in a jury box one time. That was pretty cool. I was able to sit in on city council meetings, and honestly, it was just a lot, but it was a good a lot. It was a lot of different things, different perspectives. So I'm very appreciative of that. As far as how did this experience shape my plans, I would say that it showed me that there's different avenues of law. Getting ready to graduate in the next 3.5 months, it's honestly motivated me to pursue policy and law before it's actually into law. I've been applying and getting to more so state and local politics, working either as legislative aid or at the state house, different things like that, because really with what stuck with me most was I was able to go. They had a Harambe day in the youth detention center, and we were just reading to the youth in there and just asking them questions and learning about them and what their plans and future goals were, and hearing their stories and what they come from. It was just really touching and really moving to know that, you know, a lot of these children are in the positions they are in because of just having to survive, honestly, and doing things that kids shouldn't have to do, you know. So in the end, I would definitely say returning like to campus in the fall, it definitely has tied everything I have learned from my political science coursework to actually affected individuals. A lot of the times we just, you know, see and hear numbers, but these are real people, you know, that's being affected by everything that's going on. So yes, and shout out to the Central State students in here. I see y'all. Thanks for attending. I hope I touched on everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Azaria. We can go with Sylvia now, and then after Sylvia, you can go.
And hi everyone, I'm Sylvia Nganga. Should we go through our whole experience or are we waiting to Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Sylvia Nganga. I am a recent graduate of Howard University, majoring in political science and criminology. And this summer I was a Defender Association of Philadelphia fellow. I had an amazing time, and I think for me, the biggest thing that this fellowship did for me was it taught me how much public defense isn't just about just one case. I was really drawn to this internship because I had interned in public defender offices before and I knew I had a really good experience. But one thing that I really noticed was the lack of representation of attorneys to clients. There just wasn't a lot of Black attorneys, and I really think that's something that's so important, especially when our clients are all brown and Black, that they have defenders that match that. And so for me, that's one thing that really drew me to BPDA, and the mission of BPDA was understanding that we need more people that look like us in these spaces. So one of my favorite things about for the Philly Defenders was how important that was to them as well, that it was a perfect match. I had the best summer ever. One of the things that we did was figuring out a way to just kind of connect our office with the community. And I think that's something that the Philly Defense does so well. It was an extremely authentic experience, and we did a lot of work with the outside community. So one of the biggest things that we did was a juvenile expungement clinic that I was able to participate in, and it was so inspiring to see how the attorneys, they didn't just see, public service as something that they did just at work, even taking the time out of their day to make sure that they're helping, and they're using their resources to actually connect with the community. And I was able to shadow attorneys in the Juvenile Special Defense Unit, which was the unit for kids that were being charged as adults. So it was really important and amazing for me to see the work that they did. And then I also helped with the Junior Defender program. I was able to get weaved in with them as well, which is a program that is specific to the Philly Defenders, where they're trying to help get rid of the school to prison pipeline and trying to interrupt that. And it was amazing because I was able to not just work by myself, but other undergraduate students, which made the experience so beautiful. And we were able to understand what the school to prison pipeline was, what does it look like actually in the community, and also we were able to understand how we were able to understand different things that play a part in the school to prison pipeline, and understand what collateral consequences were, how different things such as cash bail and different fees from the court system can play a part in someone's ability to be released, and how that is such a big part of mass incarceration in the United States. So I would definitely say I think one of the best things that this fellowship has done for me is understanding the role of a public defender, not just in court, but also within the community. And now it helped me so much. So now I currently work as a legal assistant in the trial division at the Defender Service in DC. And it's such a great experience. And I want to say thank you so much to BPDA for making me feel so ready to jump into the actual work as, as legal support staff, and hopefully one day as a future defender.
Okay, I just have to say I love this. I love when we have the like success stories. We're just like so proud of Sylvia. She has like jumped straight into the work at PDS. I'm sorry, I had to come off mute. I know everybody's gonna be like, that is not part of the program, but congratulations, Sylvia. I just really want to say that in front of everybody. I mean, I've heard so many great things. Of course, I got a little chance to interact with you, but it's been so great to hear how you started at PDS. Her Big Boss is the chair of our board. So it just has been really great. We're all so connected. So anyway, I'm so proud of you, Sylvia.
Thank you so much.
All right. Am I good to go?
Yep, you're good to go.
All right, cool. Hi everyone, that was so good. Thank you. That I loved hearing about your story. My name is Psalm. I'm currently a third year undergraduate student at the University of Texas at Austin. I'm a double major in African diaspora studies and migration studies, and I have a minor in philosophy. And so what kind of drew me to applying to BPDA was, of course, its mission. I think as someone who has more of a what people would consider sometimes a non-traditional like major, as someone who's pre-law, I think that I kind of saw this opportunity as like this is exactly what I've always been wanting. Public defense was something I've always knew I was going to do. I didn't really have an interest in any other area. I knew I wanted to become an attorney to help people, and to make a tangible impact in my community. And so the mission of BPDA really aligned with everything that I had plans for in my future. And so, with that, I landed on Brooklyn Defender Services. I was an intern there. I worked on the policy team alongside so many great people. I worked under Jackie Gadizen, which she was amazing. Um, just to be quite honest, like it was literally the best 2 months of my life. Like it was the absolute best. If I could reapply to BPDA and do it again and try all the places, I would do it again. It was just really, really incredible for so many reasons. I think that as someone who was interested in public defense, I think that the exposure that it gave me was just it can't be bought. Being able to sit in with law students and get that orientation experience and just orienting myself to New York policy and statutes was just priceless, especially as someone who was coming fresh off of their sophomore year of college. Like it was just like I was in information heaven. So like I had a really great time learning, but also meeting all the undergraduates from other places, and being able to meet other community members as well in Brooklyn was also super cool. Because the question I kept getting while I was there is like everyone was from the East Coast, but I was like one of two people from Texas, and they were like, how did you end up all the way over here?" And one of those reasons is because I absolutely love the community in Brooklyn. That was something I talked about a lot in my interview. Because prior I had got the chance to do research in Brooklyn with the communities in Brooklyn. I got to do a descendant family interview with some lovely people at the Juneteenth parade in Brooklyn. So I got to talk a lot about that research in my interview. And so I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to get back to New York and Brooklyn and serve that community, but I want to go back there. And so I talked a lot about that and I got to share that experience. And so I think being able to go back in this capacity, and serve with BDS was like one of the best things that has ever happened to me in my academic career, honestly, in my life. It was just really, really incredible. And so one of the most meaningful experiences that I had personally while I was interning with BDS was I was fortunate enough to go to a Board of Corrections hearing. I went to a lot of hearings and got to do a lot of community work with other community members, nonprofits, and things like that. But this one in particular was particularly hard for me because we got to the little section where we got to hear a little bit of inmate testimony or like some of the things that they were talking about, they were experiencing inside of Rikers Island. And I had a little bit of like an emotional breakdown in the middle of the hearing. And I looked at my attorney and I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. Like, I don't know how this is gonna be something that I do. I can't even sit in here without getting really emotional and really worked up about what these people are experiencing. And he was like, like it's good. This means that you care, and we need people like you who care. And so don't ever feel bad about being sensitive and being empathetic towards what people experiences because these are the type of people that we need in a field like this. We need people who care. We need people who are committed to caring and doing the work even when it's difficult. And so having that conversation with the attorney I got to go to that hearing with was just very, very special for me because that's something that I've always kind of looked at. My sensitivity towards other people and wearing my heart on my sleeve is something I've always kind of looked at as a weakness. And so just being able to hear from other attorneys in my office is that actually it's a huge strength in public defense. And so that was just really, really important and meaningful for me. And that conversation has literally never left me. And I think coming back to school with that on my heart and mind, now that I'm studying for the LSAT, you guys are seniors, so I'm still a little bit of a baby, but I'm studying for the LSAT and getting ready to see where I'm going to apply and end up. Like that has kind of stuck with me. And it has just recentered the importance of where I'm headed and why I'm headed there. So just in all, it was just a really incredible experience, all the things I got to learn. Also, like as someone who had more policy related experiences in the beginning of my college career. This is my first real kind of legal-esque internship or like being in a being serving in a legal capacity or like being in a legal space. And so I think just being able to like see that, oh my gosh, there's a perfect combination of policy advocacy and then I could still work in law. Being able to see that kind of combined together was also really like important to me because I think that I hadn't had that exposure. So I think being able to have exposure to like you can still be a political advocate and still work in the legal field, and those things don't have to be exist downstream of each other. I think was also really great for me to see as well. But it was absolutely incredible. Like I said, Sherry was absolutely amazing while I was there. She was so much fun. Working with all the other interns and attorneys there, they were so much fun as well. Being able to do voir dires and all the fun things was like so incredible. So I'm just very grateful for BDS for the opportunity that I was afforded this past summer. And if I could do it 100 times over, I definitely would. So
Thank you so much, guys. That was great. Guy, are you back? Are you ready? Okay, I think okay, he's back. He's gonna hop on now.
I'm back. I'm here.
Okay.
Ready for me?
Yeah, we're ready for you.
Okay, great. And I apologize for that. Actually in another presentation that I'm making now. But thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about the work that we're doing at the Philadelphia Defender Association, specifically around centered on the work that the Black Public Defender does and our relationship and collaboration with those guys. So Sylvia Nganga, Sylvia, I could not do a better job of describing what the fellow would be responsible for and what some of their role would play, the role they would play at the Defender Association of Philadelphia. Sylvia was an amazing fellow. There's another one of our folks who was a peer educator, Haley Gibson. She's also on this call. I saw her there. But the responsibility, I want to talk less about the responsibility or the role and more about the character and the morals of the person that we select as our fellow and what that means to the work that we do. Transparency, the ability to be genuine, a love for Black people. That's what we look for in our fellow. And that's if Sylvia and Haley will both tell you, if you ask either one of them what I do for a living, I don't even want to say it, but I'm sure they'll tell you that I love Black people for a living. And that being the case, the work that we do at the Defender Association with regards to our relationship with our BPDA CEF fellow is rooted in what they want to do. How do they want to show up as for the people in our communities? How do they want to support the folks that we represent? What resources can they deliver to our community? What services can they work with us to deliver to our communities? And be creative in the ways that we identify the services and support that are needed by listening to the communities and the voices of the communities, and then assessing that and ensuring that our delivery meets that, it matches that. We meet people where we are. The Defender Association of Philadelphia's mission is centered on a holistic approach, a client-centered approach, and our fellow embodies those statements that we make in our mission. So the long and short of it is, come on over to the Defender Association of Philadelphia. We have a good time. We run a movie every summer. This is our fourth summer with and it's going to be another movie. So yeah, that's what I got to say. Let's get busy.
Okay, thank you, Guy. So I think we have actually gotten through everything. That was fast. You guys have any questions for us? I'm gonna drop the links for the application in the chat, just in case you guys need that. Elena, did you have anything else that you needed to say?
No, I actually see a hand, and I will say this is really your time to so I'm glad someone is already jumping in there to ask any specific. So I see a couple of people. This is your time to ask the questions. I truly believe in you going into this experience, if chosen, fully informed. So I really encourage, right, especially if it's for specific host sites, the SVPDA. We ended up with a few more minutes after. So please. So I think I saw Daniel's hand first. Is that okay, Ebony, if we can start?
Yes.
She's all for the show. Okay, Daniel.
Okay, Daniel, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, I had maybe two questions. Can you hear me first of all? Okay, so the first question I had was when I was researching this organization, I saw that you guys do a conference in the summer as well for BPDA. I just wanted a little bit more information on that as well. And then I had another question regarding the interview phase. With the interview phase, is that where we would still be on Zoom interviewing with different offices, or is it the different offices that you're selected for, you would go in person interview with them?
Yeah, so I think I could answer probably both of those questions. So I'll actually take your last question first is yeah, so the interviews will be via Zoom. So after the application process is over, and I'm sure Ebony will kind of maybe go over some timelines at the end of this. Once the application closes, Ebony sends all the applications to the different host sites. So you all different folders. And then the host site, right, chooses out of those applications. They can choose to interview everyone. They could choose to only interview 2 or 3 people. And those interviews are hosted via Zoom. If you are chosen, right, it is kind of in a process of how you work out, of course, getting out there and all the things. As you all know, this comes with at least a $4,000 stipend. It is up to you in the host site to discuss during the interview if chosen. How, for some people, I think that's hourly. For some people, it's going to be split up into 2 checks because it comes directly to BPDA. So there's that process. But I hope, Daniel, I answered your second question. For your first question is yes, we do have a BPDA summer conference every single year. I want to say it's the best conference. It is such an amazing space to be in. In the past, we're in Brooklyn this year. So every single time we do go to a particular city, we are able to invite the fellows in the particular surrounding area that's able to come. Unfortunately, we can't provide the actual travel for fellows. I think this year for our community engagement fellowship, we have 5, but for our law school fellowship, I think we're at 36, right? So it's just no way for us to support that many. Not yet. Let me go ahead on speaking into existence. Not yet. But that's a little bit about both. But because we're in Brooklyn this year, we will be able to invite the fellows from the surrounding area to our conference. Okay. Ebony, I'll let you take it from here.
Okay, Xiomara, you can ask your question now.
Thank you. So for the application, I was looking at that we had to do a short bio and answer some questions. Is there like a word limit that you guys recommend? Because sometimes I go overboard, so I just want to know if there's like some type of word limit.
There isn't. It varies. We have, short bios to like maybe 1 or 2 paragraphs. So I would keep it maybe under 2. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And Tiana, I'm sorry, did I say that correctly?
Yes, close Tiana.
Tiana, okay.
Well, so my first question, I believe was just answered. I was asking about because I noticed that some sites, I hope you guys can hear me okay. I'm sorry about my camera. Um, it was about because I noticed that some locations had like the hourly pay, and then I know that in addition to you guys already having a stipend, but I'm pretty sure that question was just answered. My second question is, so I'm like very interested, very passionate about reentry and like resources for those incarcerated. I noticed that some of the sites have like work surrounded around that, but if I'm like selected, if I am selected for the program at all, but if I am selected for one of the sites that doesn't like they're not focused for specifically for that, how exactly can I incorporate that passion in there, or is there a way for me to do so?
I will let any of the sites speak up on this, but I think my answer would be if you are at a site that specifically is doing that specific work, I would definitely talk about that during your interview of saying like, hey, is there any possible way for us to incorporate anything? Maybe that's you. Some offices have specific like reentry attorneys. Some have specific social workers that's working toward that. So I would definitely, during, if you are chosen for an interview, during your interview phase, talk about that being an interest and seeing if that's a possibility. Because just as much as the site is choosing you, you're also choosing the site, right? So, ensuring that you are getting the experience as well that you want. But I feel like most sites would be open to it. But I would, really have that conversation during the interview phase.
Okay, thank you so much for your answer.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, Amari.
Yes, hello. My name is Imario Saze. I am a graduating senior at Howard University. And my question is, what advice could you give us who are applying for the summer session, and how could we possibly make our applications stand out amongst others?
I'm gonna let a host site answer that question. So any host site, because they are the ones who are actually going through those folders and those resumes and those applications. So
I can talk a little bit about that if you want. So I'm in New York City again with the Legal Aid Society. It's a little bit difficult to tell someone how they can stand out, because I can tell you that most of the applicants we see on paper are qualified. I think that what I look for when I'm interviewing someone is if they would be a good fit for the office and like the organization. So that's usually what I'm looking for. And that really just varies, right? Sometimes it's just about clicking, sometimes it's about your extracurricular activities. Sometimes it's about, just making sure you manifest and show how you're committed to our people. That's important. We all are people of color, but we want to make sure that you're aware of the issues that we're facing and really committed to helping us eradicate some of those issues. So I can tell you when I'm interviewing, that's what I'm really looking for. Um, I like people who are street smart. That's just me. I grew up in, like an inner city. So those are the things that kind of sticks out to me when I'm trying to pick someone for the program.
Thank you.
Echo, you know, as Kawan, and I think, God touched on this a little bit. It's like you have to love the population that we're serving. We're representing people who are disfavored and, often dehumanized. And so, really being genuine about your understanding of some of the systemic issues and a commitment to like wanting to work towards change and improvement in whatever way feels genuine for you. So, I think having some information about like the personal, the why behind why you're wanting to do this fellowship, why you're curious about this work, why you're interested in indigent defense, I think is really helpful to understand what it is that you're, what's driving you, but also what you're interested in learning or doing or gaining skill wise. I think is also really helpful because then we can kind of envision as the host site who might be a good fit, what do we have to offer that they're looking for, and being able to, I think for at least for us as a host site, feeling comfortable in your own skin enough to want to get out there and be self-motivated, because a lot of that community work, you have to feel comfortable talking with people and approaching people and, kind of putting yourself out there on behalf of an organization or on behalf of populations that, might not have trust in those of us who want to do the best work for them, but have to build those relationships and that rapport. So having some of those soft skills can definitely be helpful as well. So I think highlighting that in that capacity is also helpful in the application.
Okay, thank you, Leah. Anissa?
Hi, yes, my name is Anissa Cleggett. I'm a first year political science major, history minor from New Orleans, Louisiana, and I attend Howard University. I wanted to ask any of the host sites, what are some skills that like applicants should intentionally strengthen before joining the fellowship?
I would say your public speaking. That is something that, being in college, you may not have that much experience doing in terms of giving, because I know for our organization at the culmination of the fellowship, you do give a presentation. You need to use whatever method you're comfortable with. It might be PowerPoint, etc. So just being able to articulate yourself, feeling comfortable standing up, speaking in front of a room, a group of people. So that's what I would suggest. Those are some skills that you can strengthen.
Um, I also think that multitasking and being able to sort of flip between, different assignments, is important, particularly, I would assume all the public defender offices are somewhat similar in that, one day you'll be working on one project and then the other day you might be asked to work on something different with different people and all of those things. So I think, multitasking and time management is a real strength at a public defender office. And that's definitely something I think I try to work on every single day still.
Okay, Sam, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I saw in the chat that a student had asked about working around the schedules. And I felt like I could give some good insight to that because I did have to I had some scheduling things that are not necessarily scheduling, but I had different things that I had to work through. I think just being transparent about that and showing up regardless of what you're navigating. I know for me, since I was coming from Texas, going to New York and staying there for 8 weeks financially wasn't going to be feasible. However, BPDA worked with me really well on making sure, okay, if you can't stay the whole 8 weeks, how can we get you to stay, the first half of the summer, and then being able to okay, we're going to do work with you this time, and then you're going to be doing this project on the other half, tail end of your time during the fellowship. So I think being collaborative and being transparent about the things that you're facing difficulty with is the best way for people to help you. And that's the best advice that I know I can give on that since I did have a little bit of experience with that. But I think BPDA was really, really incredible in helping me navigate those things. And I still had a really great experience, even though it was financially difficult for me to stay the whole 8 weeks, due to me coming from really far away. But yeah, that was my little bit of insight on that. But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to jump in there.
No, thank you so much. Cecilia? Okay, Jemiah.
Yes. Hello. Good evening. I am actually a first year law student, and I was not aware that you all had a actual law student fellowship or internship, that is, just from the listing that I saw for this fellowship on LinkedIn. And so I that's new to me, but I did want to ask, do I even still qualify for being able to submit my application for this fellowship, this current fellowship that we're the BPDA current fellowship for the summer at all?
Yeah. So I'll answer that question. So unfortunately, no, you missed. We had I hear though you're in your first year, so we have a couple more years. We closed that application pool. What was that back in was it October or November? But needless to say, the interview and all the processes already they've been chosen, congratulations, all the things have already been done with that fellowship program. So I will say keep watching our social media because every single year we've just gotten better and better at starting earlier and earlier. So our 2027 application would drop in fall 2026. So that's a few months away. So unfortunately not you if this is only for undergrad and graduate students. But please be on the lookout for the application for 2027.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, and thanks for taking interest. We still got a couple more years to catch you. So that's a good thing.
Okay, Cecily?
Yes, it's Cecile. Can y'all hear me?
Still, okay. Yes.
Okay, awesome. I'm sorry that my camera's off. It's also not working. My laptop's a little bit messed up right now. But I my question was, I know that housing isn't provided and that if accepted, applicants have to look for it on their own. But I was wondering if any past interns or even those that work in office areas can answer how they found housing or if they had any suggestions or tips on that. Because I'm from Texas and all the host sites are a little bit far away from me, but I'm still really interested in BPDA and like everything it has to offer. So
Oh, I can do that one. I can handle that one. So I definitely understand what you're talking about. I'm originally from North Carolina and I go to school in the DC area, and my host site was Philly. And I had never been to Philly before, but I was super excited for the experience and I really wanted to be in the area. So one thing that BPDA really helped with was their housing stipend. They gave me a $1,500 housing stipend, which was super helpful. And one thing that I did was I reached out to some of the college students within the Philadelphia area. So I actually subletted from a UPenn student, and I lived in a big house with like other students that were interning over the summer, and I was able to use the stipend to help pay for that. So I would say one thing is reaching out, like going on Facebook groups and finding for whatever city that you're going to, reaching out to the students that are trying to sublet their college apartment. That's super helpful. And yeah, I would say that. I think that's like the safest and the most like reliable way would be reaching out to college students within the area.
okay, thank you so
Something
much. I appreciate it.
Something else to touch on that as well is to reach out to your host sites as well, Leah. Leah gave me a lot. I was just like, hey, I'm not from, because I'm from Indiana, but I was over in Cleveland, never been to Cleveland, don't have family in Cleveland, don't know anything. So I was just like, hey, what are some options? I didn't end up going with those options, but she sent me a whole lot. And then in the Cleveland area, there's a ton of colleges. So there's on campus housing as well that they usually open up in the summer, and it's usually pretty affordable. Um, and I end up going through an app or website called Furnish Finder, and it's like landlords, they rent out their spaces and it's for however long that they want it, but it's like fully furnished. My apartment was fully furnished. Even all the subscriptions, Netflix, Disney, Hulu, everything was there, pots and pans. All I had to bring was my clothes, honestly, and myself. So that was really good.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate y'all's tips and suggestions.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you guys. Lizelle.
Hello, my name is Lizelle Johnson. I am a graduate student at Central State University. And my question is, now that I've had a chance to hear from different sites, is there a proper way to express interest in a site that I did not select, or just wait to see when I'm interviewed?
You already filled your application out. Once you pick your host sites, unfortunately, you just have those three choices.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And Lauren?
Hi, everybody. My name is Lauren. I'm a junior at Howard University. I also work as a litigation paralegal, in civil cases. My question is, fast forward to the end of the fellowship, what are three things that you think a fellow can get right, and what are three things that a fellow can get wrong?
I don't even know who to direct that question to. I'm like, is this a what you say? Well, you say I
Okay.
want to say, I'm like, I feel like a host I can ask that. I feel like maybe a okay or a past fellow, but I see Leah, you started jumping in there, so I'm
I
about to.
was just going to make a what I think is appropriate, but is probably an inappropriate response is the wrong thing to do would be to go work for the prosecutor's office. So,
Okay,
Yeah, I would say the wrong thing to do is not being committed, right? Something can come up, maybe unexpectedly, a death, etc. We make adjustments for that, but don't accept a position and then say, "Oh, by the way, I have a 2 week vacation I want to take." So I just think be like upfront and clear and communicative during the interview process so that the organization can make a decision that's, right for them, as opposed to you, you know, knowing you have a vacation planned and say, hey, I accepted it, we're locked in, and then you need to go to Spain or wherever for 2 weeks. So I would just say be transparent.
And along the lines of transparency, we always ask, our fellows and our students what your goals and expectations for the summer are. And, this is all intended to be a mutually beneficial, experience, right? And so I think that the right thing to do is to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to speak up if there's something that you see that you want to do. And because the worst thing somebody could say is like, oh, like, well, I don't know that that's an appropriate opportunity, right? But the best thing somebody say is come along with me, like I'd love to show you that. We don't know what we don't know about what you and what you want. So I definitely encourage folks to be as communicative as you can, feel comfortable being about opportunities, when things arise, oh, hey, I want to tag along with this. I want to do that. Sam definitely did that this, past summer, kind of joining in, the mix of things and seeing what's up and what's out there. So it's a to do.
Oh, I was gonna say one thing that I would like to flag as a fellow going in. I would say one thing I would recommend for the people that come in is make sure you're understanding how your work plays a role in the wider systemic system that into. We're working in the criminal legal system and we're working with clients that are genuinely in, situations. And I think it's very important to not, this is a great experience to learn and understand what public defense is, but this is also a really experience to also give and to serve and to understand what field that you're coming into. So I would say just keep in mind how when you're watching hearings and you're interacting with clients and you're interacting with defenders, understanding how you want to participate in this work in the future and what are different ways that you can use the skills that you have to be able to help even just one person.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think also like just being very considerate of like the things that you might encounter and like witness, and being open-minded and having an open heart. I think that some things can be very like difficult, and even more difficult for the people experiencing them. And so like making sure that you're just being very considerate of like your facial expressions and like the things that you're saying maybe to other interns or like just around and like being mindful of like your comments and stuff like that. Fortunate enough for me, I did not have that experience at all, but I do think that sometimes like when you're in more navigating like difficult circumstances or when you're in a field like this, like it can be very easy to like I guess, be very flippant about like what other people are experiencing. But it's very difficult, and especially like if you are someone who's like pretty wears your heart on your sleeve like myself, like also to like taking care of yourself and like letting people know when things are difficult for you and just being very communicative, like the host sites have said, and like being honest and transparent, and then making yourself available. And helpful and multitasking, like Sherry said, like it was a whole lot of multitasking going on. I'm working on one project. Can you make a list of all the legislators in New York State for me the next hour? Can you do this for me? So it's a whole lot of like multitasking that you'll just have to get accustomed to. But that's why there's a whole community of people there to support you and your host site is there to support you as well.
In addition to that, if you don't mind, I know you said like a little bit on the back end, do use like your resources and the network that you'll have afterward. I know we didn't talk about it, but we did have like weekly sessions with BPDA where we all like came together every, I want to say Wednesday, and like we just talked about our experiences and they had like different questions for us. And I know like for me personally, I was like, well, I'm the only undergraduate student. I'm around all law school students. I feel like, I should know a lot more than what I actually am. And they helped me through that. Leah helped me through some difficult times I was having out there. Yeah, we're still connected now. We're getting ready to plan our birthday party. We actually have the same exact birthday. What are the odds? But yeah, like definitely use your resources. Stay connected on LinkedIn, phone number, whatever you do, and just continue to water those relationships that you build through this experience afterwards when your time is complete.
And I will, I know, Ebony. I will say, because I wanted to add that in, we do have weekly sessions, and we probably don't highlight that enough. But that really is the true, I think, like magic of BPDA. Like our network is unmatched. I really will say that. And I think the opportunity to have fellows come together every single week and really not just learn about different things in public defense, but also have opportunities to connect with each other to talk about, like, hey, I'm really struggling because like I'm so quiet and I got to put myself out there. And like you have the other fellows saying, like, yeah, put yourself out there. You got this. Like, I just think it's such a, um, like it's an environment that just really brings like magic, and it brings the magic out of each one of you all. So anyway, it was great. So thank you for highlighting that.
Yes, I agree. Thank you guys. We're so happy that you came out to spend some time with us. And thank you, host sites and former fellows. I hope we answered all your questions. Feel free to send me an email if you have any other questions. And I think we're all set. Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Bye.
You.
Okay, Ebony, I think you could stop the recording.
Recording stop.